After replacing my entire mix with stock plugins, how did this compare to the officially released version? Hello and welcome to my channel. I wanted to see if stock plugins could really hold their own against the plugins I've paid well over a couple of grand for. Without revealing to you which mix is which, have listened to them both side by side and see if you prefer one over the other.
It's everything will always come after my misery. I swear I tried to put you first, but you never stood a chance.
Just quickly, if you make music like this and you want me to mix your next release, then head over to terrybeckleyrecording.com and send me a message via the contact form. I will get back to you. So let's compare those two mixes in depth. The second mix is definitely brighter and more open, but does that mean it is a better mix? Have listened again to the top end and see how the second mix opens up, but try to think about whether it needs to be that bright and whether the other one has a more darker, sort of solemn feel, which might even fit the subject of the lyrics and the song itself.
Because everything will always come after my misery. I swear I tried to push you first, but you never stood a chance. No, you never stood a chance.
And what about the low end and weight of the mixes? Mix A feels thicker to me, like it carries more balls, but is that better, or does it soften up the mix a little too much? The vocals are more present in mix B, whereas in mix A, they are darker and more buried into the mix. The vocal layers also feel fuller in mix A, whereas the second gives more spotlight to the main vocal, or the main vocal track. The kick has more weight and more transient in mix A, to my ear, but the top end of the kick is placed slightly differently than in mix B, which gives it a very different vibe. The low end of the kick in mix B seems a bit rounder and has a little less punch, to my ears anyway. The snares are also drastically different. Mix A has a darker and harder hitting snare, whereas the second sounds a little splattier with a bit more bite. Each one is in keeping with the mix around it, and that's a good thing. If you put the snare from mix A into mix B, and vice versa, it would stick out, sound disconnected from everything else. Okay, so now let's solo out some frequency bands and dig in deeper. So everything up to 150 Hz here. Let's have a quick play.
Because everything will always come after my misery. I tried to push you first, but you never stood a chance. No, you never.
So not too much difference here, mostly the kick, and how there is more low-end rumble and energy in mix A. I think I actually prefer mix B here, because it feels like the bass and kick relationship sort of lock in better. The low end of the vocals sound almost identical in both versions too. So let's hear sort of mid-range, low and upper mids together. 100 Hz to about 2K.
Because everything will always come after my misery. I swear I tried to push you first, but you never stood a chance. No, you never stood a chance.
Far more vocal mids in mix A, which I feel will translate a lot better when listening at lower volumes on different speakers. I'm also hearing more bass grit in mix A, or at least a more pleasing mid-range to the bass. The attack of the kick seems to sit here for mix A, whereas it's a bit higher up for mix B. There's a tad more guitar energy here too, but it's marginal. I think mix A has a better mid-range, and that will probably mean it will translate better across different speaker systems too. Okay, finally let's listen to the upper mids to the top end, or 500 Hz and above.
Because everything will always come after my misery. I swear I tried to push you first, but you never stood a chance. No, you never stood a chance.
The cymbals sound harsh to me in mix B when listening to this band on its own, and that should be a hint as to which mix is which if you've seen my other videos in this series of mixing with stock plugins. The vocals are more lively up here in mix B, which I like. The attack of the kick feels a lot better, however, to me, or nicer in mix A. So I would say mix A also has a better top end. So which mix was which? The stock plugin version was actually mix B. And sorry for the lack of drama and tension I created there. I do music, nothing else. I would say that the stock plugin still produced something in the ballpark of the official version. The mid-range I preferred in mix A could probably be attributed to the saturation I like to use from the paid plugins, and the nicer top end is probably thanks to using Soothe 2, which I couldn't use in the stock version and there wasn't really a replacement for. If you want to see how I mix the official version, the video we linked in the description. Same as if you want to see how I converted that into the stock plugin version, those videos are also linked in the description. So thank you for sticking around this long. Hopefully these videos on stock plugins have provided some value in some way. Be sure to check out my other videos if you make music like this. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you at the next one.